Live from the 607, it is the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, where we're talking sports locally and nationally. Why don't you join in the conversation with the hashtag ODPH? Here we go. And welcome to another edition of the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, hashtag ODPH on that social media. I am your host, Ken M., and sitting across from me this week is the intern himself, Padawan J.
Hello, hello, hello.
Folks, we got a lot to talk about, so let's waste no time. Sound Guy Galore JR, unfortunately, is not here. He had an emergency commitment he needed to make, so he will be back next week to give you his opinion of this past weekend's NFC Championship title game in the NFL. But we have time to talk about it this week. Your Philadelphia Eagles came, saw, and conquered on their home turf against the Minnesota Vikings.
That was a butt-whooping under every definition I can think of.
I tell you what, I mean, Minnesota came in, a lot of energy after that miraculous comeback win against New Orleans. And everybody has been picking against the Eagles. Not saying that it doesn't go without fault. Obviously, your starting quarterback is not playing.
Yep.
So chances are your backup is not going to play as lights out as Nick Foles has. It was a little shaky against Atlanta, but I think the telling sign is before the game in Philly when Minnesota fans were on the steps in front of the Rocky statue doing the Skull chant.
Yeah.
And I know somebody put a Minnesota towel on the Rocky statue itself. Might have been the wake-up call that they did not want to do.
I'll say adding more motivation that Philly already didn't need, because I'm not sure if the players said or commented anything about it. You know they knew.
Oh, yeah.
They were well aware.
That was hitting social media pretty hard, and I know the fans were riled up, which Philly is a wild fan base to begin with.
Oh, yeah.
So throwing more gas on that fire was probably not the best idea. The players, as you can see on social media too, were really, really amped up for the game, and you could tell by the opening drives, when Minnesota scored, Philly came right back. Didn't even look faltered.
No.
Didn't even look scared at all. And they just decided to unload on Minnesota. Nick Foles played outstanding.
Oh, yeah.
And their defense was playing lights out. I mean, everything that could have gone Philly's way did, and everything, unfortunately, for Minnesota just didn't fall into place.
Yeah, Nick Foles, 26 completions on 33 attempts, 352 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, sacked once.
Yeah, when you have a game like that, it doesn't matter who your defense is, you're going to win.
Yeah.
And he played outstanding, which I did not see happening. I will admit, I did not see him doing it. I thought Philly would not fall apart, but I thought they would struggle.
Yeah.
Obviously,
you would
Carson
think,
Wentz.
given how good Minnesota's defense had played, with the exception of the game against New Orleans in the second half, take that out of the equation. Minnesota's defense has been really good all year.
Oh, yeah, they've been lights out all year. But Philly found a way, and Philly just came in with extra motivation. I know when they were down 7-0, they just came right back and just never took the foot off the gas pedal.
No.
Is what they needed to do.
Yes.
Because I think if they gave Minnesota a chance to come back, Minnesota would have.
Oh, yeah.
But Foles did not give him that opportunity, and I'm very impressed with how he played. I got to admit, because I did not see him doing this.
No, neither did I. I mean, Nick Foles, you never quite know what you're going to get out of him. He's either going to have a really stellar game and look really good, or he's just going to look awful.
Yeah, and he decided to, embrace the spotlight. He led that team, and you could just definitely tell by halftime in the game. I don't want to say it was over, but Philly just did not let up, and they just had that killer instinct the entire game.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever saw him win the prevent and the entire time.
No, not if I'm remembering off the top of my head. No, I don't think they did either. I didn't want to think it was over at halftime just because I kind of figured Minnesota would make some adjustments at halftime, make some changes, come out the second half, and really make a game out of it, but it just never ended up happening.
No, Philly's defense stepped up to the challenge. They really shut down Case Keenum. And, Philly's punched their ticket to Minnesota. Obviously, it's going to be a very interesting crowd for them when they get there.
Yeah.
Because now that they've defeated the hometown Vikings to get to the Super Bowl, what's the reaction going to be when they get there?
I'll say, because as uncommon as it is, because it's never happened where the host team has never played in the Super Bowl, I can't think of a time where the host team was one game away from being to the Super Bowl.
Neither have I.
And then the team beats them and goes to their home city.
Yeah. And it's going to be interesting to see that Patriots Nation will be represented very loudly in that stadium, I feel.
Well, I know I shared something on my own Facebook this week. There was a post from a joke page that said, Philadelphia Eagles, the only team that will get America to root for the New England Patriots. While that is true in some cases, by and large, I don't think that's the case.
No, but I think the Minnesota crowd is going to be very pro New England.
Yeah, because you saw something similar last year with New Orleans Saints fans rooting against the Falcons.
Yeah.
Because I know in a couple places I look at where, Patriots fans like to, congregate and speak online. I know there was a couple of Saints fans who kind of came into those portions of the internet and said, hey, good luck, we're rooting for you.
Yeah, and I think going to the AFC Championship game, the Patriots did what the Patriots do. Jacksonville, it was close. They had the lead, but you got to give the Devils their due.
I'll say if by the Patriots do what the Patriots do in taking years off my life, yes.
Well, that as well.
Oh, my God.
There is no team that makes second-half adjustments better than Belichick and company.
No.
And with the Jacksonville being up on that lead, I believe it was, 20-10 at halftime?
Yeah.
You knew that if there was still a glimmer of hope for the Patriots, Brady would find a way. I hate saying this as a Bills fan. I do, but I respect Brady and what he does.
Yeah.
And Belichick, he is the guy that finds ways to win where they shouldn't.
Well, and you look at him like when Gronk left the game because of a concussion. A lot of teams that would have ended their game.
Oh, that would have been lights out for him.
You plan for the entire week with we're going to go to Gronk. We're going to throw to Gronk. We're going to go to these other guys as other options in case Gronk's double covered. But by and large, Gronk is our main option. Gronk goes out of a game. A lot of other coaches, that would have been it. That would have been the end of it. Belichick is a master of this, and of course, he's also had to plan for this or adapt to this several times when Gronk gets hurt or gets injured.
I think that's one thing that helps him.
He's had to adapt on the fly, especially in playoff games where their main offensive target goes out or gets injured, and then they're not panicking, they're not running around. It's just Danny Amendola stepped up, Brandon Cooks stepped up. I mean, Brandon Cooks had like a 100+ yard game.
Brandon Cooks definitely stepped up into the spotlight, and Amendola, like you said, he stole that game for him.
Oh yeah,
the catch he made in the end zone,
that was insane.
Sealed the deal.
Well, then Stephon Gilmore late in the game making that pass or deflecting that pass.
Yeah, the defense from the Patriots played well. I know that I read there was a lot of complaints about the refereeing.
Yeah, there usually is.
But you got to say this. Calls are going to be calls no matter what. Mm-hmm. Referees are human, albeit there was, maybe one penalty called against the Patriots?
Something like that, yeah.
It was something like that. But you have to take in perspective this, which I don't think a lot of people do. This was Jacksonville's first AFC championship game, ever?
I believe so.
Or not one since Mark Brunell played there.
Something like that, yeah.
Anyway, my point is they were brand new to the spotlight. And the AFC championship game, I mean, it's a lot of pressure. It is.
Mm-hmm.
Brady and company, love them or hate them, have been under the spotlight before.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think they were rattled. I think they knew exactly what they needed to do, and they were definitely in sync. Now, did I think they got some calls that went their way? Sure. But that happens in every sports game. That happens every time. The only one I would argue is the one pass interference call that got called on.
Oh, yeah.
Jacksonville, though. I did not agree with that call.
Yeah.
When because Cooks was out of bounds anyway, and the ball was uncatchable.
Yeah. On
A.J. Bowie, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking at the stats. One penalty on New England for 10 yards. But, of course, the thing everyone neglects to forget that I saw this morning, nobody was complaining when the Indianapolis Colts under Peyton Manning had one penalty in 197 plays in a row.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I know the Patriots definitely have the bullseye on them. Either you love them or you hate them. And they're going to get scrutinized no matter what they do.
Yep.
But at the same time, they've been under the spotlight before.
I'll say they've been doing it for 16, 17, 18 years.
Yeah, they're not going to get rattled in the playoffs. Jacksonville is a young team. They're on the rise. They're going to be back.
Oh, yeah.
The question was, how are they going to react under that spotlight? And penalties did haunt them.
I'll say we said in the last week's episode they had to play a perfect game.
Yeah, and they almost did.
Yeah.
And they did. And I mean, it's a fair statement. It's not trashing them and how they played. It's just when it came down to it, they didn't make the big plays they needed to. And that final drive, I mean, Gilmore played outstanding on that play.
Yeah, and I mean, I know
down.
we were saying as we were watching the game, you make that deep completion late in the game when you need to make a score, and then you make an incomplete pass the next play, and then we're going to do a 4-yard pass.
Yeah, that I didn't understand. I mean, if it was the only option, sure, but at that token, you know you got to make up that many yards. You got to do something else.
Yep.
And it's tough. I mean, granted, we can play armchair quarterback all we want.
Yeah, in hindsight's, of course, 2020.
Yeah. So you can't really fault them. It's just in that situation, you got to make plays, and unfortunately they didn't.
Yeah.
It's not to say that Jacksonville won't be back. I mean, obviously the offseason is going to have a lot of questions for him.
Mm-hmm.
If Blake Bortles is still going to be the quarterback at next season, or is he going to be elsewhere, or are they going to have somebody else come in? Who knows?
Yeah.
The defense is obviously on the rise, and I think if anything, this will be a learning experience for them going forward.
Yeah.
Because they did pull off some feats. They did they did beat Buffalo, and they did take it to Pittsburgh, and they won a very close game there where everything went their way.
I don't think anyone outside of a very diehard Jacksonville Jaguars fans saw them getting this far in the playoffs or playing this well at all this season.
No, absolutely not. I mean, I didn't. I mean, I thought they would rank up there, but I thought Tennessee was going to be there.
Oh, yeah. I figured they'd do all right. They wouldn't do anything great, but I never saw them making the AFC Championship game.
No, and just kudos to their defense. They carried them a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And then they have a star on the rise with Leonard Fournette. He's going to be a big, big star moving forward.
Oh, yeah.
And they just got to get a couple more weapons around him, and they're going to be a force to be reckoned with in that South, and if not in the whole AFC.
Well, and they got a smart guy in the front office in Coughlin to help, make those moves.
Yeah, and I think that really helped. You could definitely see the transition from last year to this year, and just the difference. So now it's going to be Philly and New England in the Super Bowl. We're going to give you our predictions next week's show because we want to definitely get the panel here, get everybody's opinion all in. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back on this week's ODPH. We're now on iTunes. That's right. The Ocho Duro Parlay Hour is now on iTunes. So download, rate, and subscribe. Spread the word, and thank you for listening to the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour.
I'm the street light guiding you home. Avoid the wrong step into.
Coming back to the second segment on this week's ODPH, and we got to talk a little bit NBA and what is going on in Cleveland.
5-alarm fire.
I did not see it going this way where they would be having team player meetings and just the internal strife, I guess. Can I use that word?
Given kind of what's coming out and what's being said, strife's the right word.
I guess because I know that there's been some player shift going on this season.
Yep.
And obviously losing Kyrie Irving to Boston, Isaiah Thomas is finally coming back healthy to Cleveland, so he's starting to get into the program. And now it's just it's not gelling, I guess, as quick as some people want to see.
Yeah.
And it's now causing issues where they're losing, and losing obviously is causing a little problems in the locker room.
Yeah.
Pat, you got any more info on that?
Yeah, so Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN tweeted a couple of days ago that the Cleveland Cavaliers held a, quote, emotional team meeting prior to Monday's practice, where several players challenged the legitimacy of Kevin Love leaving the Oklahoma City loss on Saturday ill and missing Sunday's practice. In a locker room increasingly full of finger-pointing, Love defended himself and explained his side to teammates, coaches, and management. At the end of the meeting, there was a sense with some that the team had worked out some issues, but that ultimately remains to be seen. Of course, this is quoting Adrian Wojnarowski. Thank you.
No problem.
Now, I can't think of a time in LeBron's entire time in the NBA that he's ever had to have a team meeting.
I can't either, to the extent where it's made this much publication, because obviously Oklahoma City, that was the game that they got 148 dropped on them.
They had a $148 dropped on them, and whoa boy.
Yeah, so obviously if you're calling a team meeting and you're trying to air the grievances and get everybody refocused, you want to come out the next game like a ball of fire.
Oh my Lord, I haven't seen the stat line from that game. Good Lord.
Yeah.
Carmelo had 29. Paul George had 36. Steven Adams, the center, had 25. Russ had 23. Good grief.
No, they unloaded. It was like a video game score.
It was set on easy.
Yeah. So obviously going into San Antonio, you would think that they would have at least came out. I mean, they had a lot of things in their favor. No, Kawhi Leonard was playing.
Yep.
But they got beat again.
Yeah, Kawhi, of course, did not play. Tony Parker was told late last week, and he kind of figured this was coming. It happens to every player with age. Tony Parker came off the bench. Manu Ginobili didn't even play.
Yeah.
Pau Gasol didn't even play.
and Murray and Aldridge lit him up.
Yeah, Aldridge had 30 points. Murray had 19. And just, when you lose to a Kawhi-less, a Manu-less, a Powell-less, and a Tony Parker coming off the bench, who's
starless, you could just say.
It's a starless Spurs team after you just had a meeting where you have the best player in the world right now on your team. It's not a good sign.
It's not a good sign, but I think that it has to be kind of looked at in a couple different ways. I mean, one, Isaiah Thomas is coming back off hip surgery, I believe it was.
Yep.
He still has to kind of get his basketball legs under him.
Right. You're right. There's always that, you see this at the beginning of the year when a new player joins a team that it takes a little while for them to get gelling. So this essentially for them is the beginning of the year for that team with Isaiah now there.
Right. And I think that with him being there, it's a different team style of play compared to when Kyrie was there. So for players like Kevin Love, it's a little more of an adjustment period with Isaiah now at the guard position.
Right.
That being said, though, for what they're losing, and I mean, obviously having 148 dropped on you, and then what was the score with the Spurs there?
114 to 102.
So you've been beat by 148 and 114. The defense is not there.
No.
There's no other way to put it. I mean, Cleveland was never that strong of a defensive team to begin with.
Right.
But now it's looking even worse.
Well, and I'm looking at the last couple of games. They beat the Magic by 1 point last week. They lost to Golden State 118-108. The Pacers beat them by 2. The Raptors beat them 133 to 99.
Yeah.
The Timberwolves beat them 127 to 99. It's just not a good look.
No, it's not a good look no matter how you draw it up. And for Cleveland, I think what you have to do is reassess your team.
Yeah.
Because I don't think this is on Tyronn Lue's fault as coach. I don't think he's doing anything wrong. You have to get your players to buy in no matter what you do. So if they're not buying in and for whatever reason it's not gelling, you either have to, ride out the team and then hope something sticks.
Yeah.
Or you're going to have to start making some moves before the trade deadline.
Right. And it almost seems like, unlike in years past, where you could look at, you had LeBron. You knew what LeBron was going to do. He's going to score points. He's going to kind of run things. What he's going to do on the court. It almost feels like there's no really assigned roles with these other players. That it's kind of like, okay, we're just lumping them together, throwing them on the court, and let's hope for the best.
Yeah, and that's the problem. And that's what their roles need to be more defined, I think. And I think there has to be more commitment to defense. Because the one thing, too, we don't realize is LeBron is not exactly a spring chicken.
No, there's some tread on those tires.
Yeah. So obviously it's taking a little more wear and tear on him. So the other players really need to step up and take some of the workload off him.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think you can blame him solely on this. I mean, he does have some blame on this, as it's a team.
Yeah, it is a team sport. He is kind of the head of that team, the unofficial point guard.
Yeah. So for him, though, you got to give him some help.
Oh, yeah.
And I think, honestly, at this point, if you want him to stay next season, because he is a free agent at the end of this year,
yep,
you have to go make some moves. That being said, who do you move?
Lord, I don't even know because I'm looking at the box score last night. You got to get him some help. Kevin Love had 10 points. Crowder had 13. Isaiah Thomas had 14. Smith had none. And then I look at the bench. Wade had 12, but then nobody else on the bench had more than 8.
So that being the said case, you got to give him a scorer.
Oh, yeah, you got to get him a score.
Who are the potential free agents, we can say?
I couldn't even tell you.
I think the one that I've heard mentioned most is Boogie Cousins out of New Orleans.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
I think he'd be a perfect fit up there.
That'd be it. Man, it almost seems like given, the offseason, Paul George, I think, is out of the question because I read today Paul George was quoted as saying Russ is making the free agent decision he has coming a little easier because he's enjoying playing with Russell Westbrook.
Oh, absolutely. I think he stays put. I think this notion that LeBron or Paul George is going to L.A., why?
Well, I think Paul would have gone to L.A. had they not been playing the way they're playing, but they're playing well, they're winning, and it seems like Paul's having a fun time. I think if they were playing almost at the beginning of the year where they almost couldn't win their way out of a wet paper bag.
Yeah.
I think if that were still the case, there would be an all but certainty that Paul George would leave and go someplace. But now that they're winning, they're having fun.
Oh, he stays.
It's going well. I think he stays.
I think he stays too. I think it just took a matter of time for them to find their niche.
Yeah.
In Oklahoma City, and they're playing phenomenal right now.
Right.
I mean, they've turned the ship around. Everything's kind of coming together. Cleveland, I mean, they have some more answers to do, But even I think if LeBron does leave, and I know we've talked about this on previous episodes, I don't see him going to the Lakers. No way, shape, or form.
No, I don't see that either, as much as I know Lakers fans would love it.
Oh, yeah, Lakers fans would love it, but I don't think he wants to go at this stage to a rebuilding team.
Right.
Unless that team was ready to contend against the Golden States, the Houstons of right now.
Right. And I'm looking online, thanks to SportTrack.com, a 2018 NBA free agent list. J.J. Redick is going to be a free agent, unrestricted free agent. Chris Paul, Brooke Lopez, like we mentioned, DeMarcus Cousins. Let's see who else we got here. Joe Johnson out of Utah, Trevor Booker, Trevor Ariza. So, I mean, no big names, but it's certainly people that you could bring in and try and fit in your system and get them to score.
Yeah, well, I think Paul stays in Houston now. I think that's a done deal. Could I see LeBron maybe going there? Sure. I could see that.
Yeah, I could see that.
I could see that if he's going to leave. But I think if you're Cleveland and you want him to stay, you have to make a move now.
You got to do something.
Yeah. And if it's not going to work with Kevin Love, put up the Kevin Love for Boogie Cousins move.
Well, say they've been talking about putting up Kevin Love ever since they got him, too.
Yeah. And it's nothing to Kevin. I just don't think he fits in the system of the style they play.
No, because you remember back to when he was in Minnesota, Kevin Love was the Kevin Love then because he was the offense. He was the scorer. Everything ran through him.
Yeah.
He wasn't used to or in a system where there were other people that had to score or there were other options. It was kind of like, okay, get the ball to Kevin Love and figure it out.
Yeah. And now, I mean, obviously with Cleveland, when he came into the role where he was behind two scorers, that your style of offense switches, and you either have to adapt and buy in or you're going to struggle.
Well, so yeah, because Kevin Love set that double-double record because it was Kevin Love and name me somebody else on that team.
Yeah, it was, I think, Ricky Rubio.
Yeah, but that was about it.
Maybe that's it. Yeah, I was just throwing a name out there.
Yeah, it was kind of Kevin Love and then a who's who of who else was on the team.
Yeah, but I think if you want any shot of LeBron staying, you need to make a move.
Oh, yeah.
Or they find a way to amend the rule and make him a player/owner, and you offer him ownership in the team.
As far as I can tell, that'd be the only way you're going to do it.
Yeah, that's the only way I see him staying put.
Yeah.
Let us know what you think. How do they fix the Cavs? Are the Cavs going to make the playoffs? I still think they make it in. I don't think they make a deep run, but I think they make it in. Let us know what you think. Hashtag ODPH. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Coming back for the third segment on this week's ODPH, and last week was a UFC card to remember.
Yeah.
UFC 220, Stipe Miocic versus Francis Ngannou.
Yep.
And Daniel Cormier versus Volkan for the light heavyweight title. Two title fights, two fights that one I thought went the way I thought it was going to go, and the other one did not go the way I did, but you know what? I was very impressed. First off was DC versus Volkan. Thoughts on that, Pat?
Good fight. Little surprised at the ending a little bit. I didn't foresee it ending in a TKO and punches.
I did not either.
I know we discussed on the show, we kind of figured that, Cormier would take him down and submit him if it didn't go the distance.
No, Cormier came out with a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah.
He came out ready to go, and I think he wasn't even worried about doing stand-up with him. I mean, he looked like a man possessed. And I mean this by he didn't look like his normal game plan. Like he was more on the aggressive side than being kind of waiting to see what was going to happen. Like Volkan, you knew was going to come out swinging from the minute. And DC, once he got him on the ground, he just started throwing bombs at him.
Yeah, and DC definitely came out motivated because the thing I noticed and I was a little surprised at is while Cormier was the champion in name, title, and everything listed, he did not come out as the champion. He did not come out with the belt because, as he said in his post-fight, he didn't feel that he was the champion. He felt that because of what happened with John, that belt was vacant, that he had to earn that belt before he could walk out with it and have it. So he definitely came out motivated.
Yeah, and I think that was the right motivation for him. I know DC gets a lot of criticism, but I think he did the right thing there, and I think that helped him because I think if he came out with the championship mentality. Not that he wasn't already thinking he was champion, but if he came out kind of doing more defensive, I think he might have been in trouble early. But he came out and wanted to make a statement that this is my division, this is my title.
Oh, yeah, and he definitely made a statement because I know we had some questions about what we were going to get out of him given his fight prior, where it was kind of like, oh, boy, what are you going to get out of this? But he definitely showed me that he still got it. He's still willing to go.
Yeah, and I know if this is going to be his final farewell tour, as I think has been rumored, he's definitely making a statement for his case of his legacy.
Oh, yeah.
And you can't go wrong with that because now the question is who's next at 205. Jimmy Manoir's name's been thrown around. Alexander Gustafsson. That's the fight I think you got to make. But
I'll say he's almost running into a Mighty Mouse situation where it's almost like he's fought everyone in the top 10 in that division.
Well, there was a rumor, and I'm going to get to this after we talk about the next fight of who his next opponent is.
Okay.
The next fight, obviously, was for the heavyweight title, Stipe Miocic versus Francis Ngannou. And did that go differently than I thought it was going to go? I mean, I said on the show, Stipe's only chance was getting him to the ground.
Yep.
He got him to the ground.
Oh, yeah.
Very easily.
Yeah.
At least I thought Ngannou was throwing some bombs at him too. And there was no question. Like, Stipe withstood the striking, which kudos to him because Francis throws hard.
Yeah, he does. Look up the video.
Yeah. And he withstood him. He took him right to the ground and imposed his will pretty much at ease.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't want to say like Francis got exposed, but he definitely needs to work on his wrestling.
Yeah.
One of the elements of mixed martial arts. That's pretty much the backbone, if you will.
Yeah, because we know Francis has got the striking. We know he's got the power. Lord, again, look up the video. For me, the biggest question was the ground game because we read that stat off of UFC.com where it was takedowns and it was like 0.
Yeah.
We've never seen him take anybody down because he'd always knocked them on their butt first.
Yeah.
So that to me was okay, we know he can outstrike Stipe. We know he can out-hit Stipe. We know he can put him down in one shot. What happens when he's on the ground?
Yeah, and we saw Stipe took full advantage. He even came out with a little chip on his shoulder, too. Because,
I think so.
Because, you know what, when you make the champion an underdog, as much as he was, that's going to fire him up.
Well, and especially you would think going into this fight, the conversation at large would be, oh, is Stipe going to be the first person to defend the heavyweight title belt 3 times in a row? Is he going to be the first? Because nobody prior to this card had done that. Mm. You would think that would be the conversation. No, the conversation at large was, is Francis going to knock Stipe out? Is he going to hit him with that punch and just drop him? That was the conversation. Everyone wanted to see if he could do it. No, nobody was really discussing Stipe getting his third defense.
And I think he got totally disrespected, and he wanted to make a statement like, don't ever do that again.
Yeah. And
he did it. I mean, he took him to the decision, but he finished, and he won strong. And I think his takedown really showed something, too. Because Francis is not a very light guy to just throw around, and he was doing it pretty much at ease.
Yeah.
And it just kind of looked like Francis has got a little work to do moving forward. Now, the 2 questions I'm going to throw at you, Pat.
Sure.
One, is Stipe was saying at the end of this, 3 title defenses. Is he the greatest heavyweight of all time?
Hard to argue with it because nobody else has done it. Has anybody even gotten to 2?
Not in the UFC. I will argue it that if he beats who I think he should fight next, and that is Cain Velasquez.
Oh, yeah.
Then I'll give it to him.
Yeah, he's in the conversation.
He's in the conversation, and you can definitely make the argument for 3 title defenses, never been done before. Hey, you got to give him his due. But I want to see just maybe one more fight before I rule, because every time everybody throws a name around like the GOAT of whatever division, I think sometimes it gets thrown a little early. Stipe has earned it with his 3 title defenses, and if you're just going based off UFC, you can definitely throw it in there. But, I mean, for me, it's still Fedor, and you look at his Pride record when he was fighting over there,
right? That
says it all for me. Stipe is in the conversation, though. He's definitely opened the door for that.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I think if he fights and beats Cain Velasquez, no matter how it is, whether it be submission, TKO, whatever, you can have that conversation and put him in one of the best of all time.
Yeah, because what I'm saying, when he beats Cain, he will have literally cleaned out that heavyweight division.
Yeah.
And of all the top contenders, and he will have done it, in very dominant fashion. If he defeats Cain that way.
Right, and that's if.
But Cain is kind of the benchmark of fighting champions, and you know what he's going to bring.
Oh, yeah.
So if Stipe defeats him, I think you got to put him in, you got to say, because he has beaten everybody in his current era of top heavyweights.
Yeah, I think, if he beats Kane, he's the best heavyweight of this era.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to say it, because when you try saying all time, I mean, it's tough because
it's hard to say.
Different organizations, like I said, Pride Fighting, that was
different
a whole
times,
different ball
different
of wax there. Yeah. Now, my second one is the rumored fight I heard, which I can't remember if somebody interviewed Dana White or not, but the rumor that was coming out is Stipe Miocic versus Daniel Cormier for heavyweight title.
I thought Cormier said he would never go back up to heavyweight.
I believe, if I read correctly, it said if he went up and he won, he could vacate because he wouldn't fight Kane.
Right.
But who else is there at 205 for him?
Nobody. I mean, we were looking at that division after Cormier won Saturday, and he's beaten everybody in that top 10 division.
Yeah. But now you throw that in the mix. If he goes up to heavyweight, you could even say for one more fight. I mean, depending on what Daniel wants to do.
We'll say, because DC ain't going to want nothing with Kane.
No, and he won't fight him. Then they'll never fight. They'll do a sparring session that we'll never see. It'll be at AKA, but we will never see that. But throw that in the mix.
That'd be real interesting.
Yeah, because you have DC, who's put his stamp on the 205 division. Not really too much noteworthy contenders at this point. That is really kind of like a must-see fight.
Yeah.
Not saying that there's not contenders. There's always contenders. But for your big money pay-per-view main event.
Well, and you almost need one too.
Yeah, but throw that in the mix. Again, him versus Stipe. If DC wins, he vacates.
Yeah,
because he could just say he can pull a GSP versus Bisping. I mean, obviously GSP is not fighting because of medical reasons. But my point is, he could fight. He could, if he wins and he beats Stipe, he has to vacate so he doesn't fight Kane.
Well, do you even have to make it for the belt? Can you just do it like a champion versus champion?
You could, but I think they'd want to do it for a belt.
Okay.
I mean, obviously Stipe wouldn't do it for the 205 belt.
Well, yeah.
He'd be moving up to fight him for his belt.
Right.
But if you think about that, though,
it almost makes sense from a booking standpoint, because outside of this potential fight, who have you got for a big money fight? Conor, still up in the air. Don't really know what's going on with him. Ronda is long gone, and we'll probably never see her again. GSP has got his medical issues. Should he be well enough to come back? You don't really. John, Lord knows he's a ways away from ever coming back. And then Lesnar, even if Lesnar's contract is up with WWE, I think it's at the end of April. Even if Lesnar doesn't go back to wrestling and goes back to UFC, he's still got a year suspension he's got to deal with.
Yeah, there's a lot more factors of star power not being in the UFC right now.
I mean, they're almost back in the same place they were when GSP announced he was coming back. It's okay, this makes sense. They don't have anybody. Well, now GSP came back. GSP's got medical issues he's dealing with. They don't really have anybody for a big name fight.
No, and this would be your big name fight. I mean, your other one that they are working on, thankfully, and I cannot wait to see this, is Dillashaw versus DJ.
Oh my Lord,
at,
yes.
At 125. I think the early word I heard was summertime, which just be healthy and make that fight happen.
It's not a big name fight in terms of like a Brock Lesnar fight, but for the MMA fans,
yeah, your casual fans won't care. Your diehards like you and I,
yep,
yeah,
take my money now.
Yeah, exactly, because that's the fight you need to make for the lower weight class. You got a great fight coming with Khabib and Ferguson at 155.
Assuming they both stay healthy.
Please stay healthy. Please stay healthy.
Fingers crossed.
Nate Diaz is rumored he wants to come back and fight now. He's been posting on Instagram.
I think he realizes he's not ever going to get anything with Conor ever again, and he's tired of waiting.
Well, yeah, because, I mean, everybody wants to fight Conor because that's where the money is.
Yep.
It makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
But then again, at the same point, does Conor want to be a special attraction fight? To the extent of he'll just fight anybody anywhere if it makes sense? Or does he want to be a champion in a division and defend his belt? That's the question he's got to answer.
Yep.
But going to the heavyweight division, though, yeah, after Kane, who else is there at heavyweight that's the big names right now?
Nobody that I can think of.
It's tough. And I think if Dana is making this fight, I think they should do it. For no other reason. If you do it one time, obviously the 205 belt's not going to be on the line, so you can decide whatever you want to do with that. If he loses, he goes back to 205. Or if he wins, he vacates, and then you have your other fight, with some other heavyweights. There's a lot of potential there, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if Stipe defeats him, let's not get too carried away with if DC wins. If Stipe wins, you give him the GOAT title.
Oh, yeah.
Even if he doesn't fight Kane, if he beats DC, you give it to him.
Yeah.
Because if he defends his belt 4 times at heavyweight.
Oh, yeah. Regardless of who he faces next, if he defeats them again, I don't think it'll ever be beaten, that record.
No, arguably no. I mean, there isn't another phenom coming down the pike that we have seen just yet.
Right.
I'm sure there are some coming. But for the heavyweight division, and Stipe does it, it's hard-pressed to argue that.
Yeah, it really is.
Let us know what you think. Hit us up on the hashtag ODPH. What's your MMA thoughts going into this weekend? We want to know. We'll talk to you after break.
It's a heartbreak, soul-shaped radio attack. Taking 4 steps forward, no steps back.
Hey, this is Vince, the Common Man Ciatoy, local MMA fighter, telling you to keep on listening to the ODPH, the 607's up-and-coming newest podcast.
We knew right where we'd be. Floating on the airwaves, you see. It's a heartbreak, soul-shaped radio attack. Taking 4 steps forward and no steps back. We knew right where
Coming
we'd
back for the
be.
third segment on this week's ODPH, and Pat's got some Major League Baseball news for us.
Yeah, the 2018 Hall of Fame class was announced yesterday, and a couple of names got in. Chipper Jones of the Atlanta Braves, Vladimir Guerrero, Jim Thome, and Trevor Hoffman, all elected to the Hall of Fame this year. Cooperstown is going to be rocking this summer.
Absolutely. That's a very strong class going in. I mean, I don't think you can argue against any of those guys. Chipper, obviously, I think was the top of the list for everybody who was eligible this year.
Yep.
And with 97% of the vote, can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, the only one for me, if I would have had a vote out of those four that I'm not entirely sure I would have voted for the first time is Vladimir Guerrero. Good player, but that for me, not a first ballot Hall of Famer.
For me, he would have been. I think Vlad's stats definitely hold up against your class that you're going in against. And I think he was stuck out. I mean, I could see the argument, too, because, I mean, he wasn't – we all know him, but he wasn't like a flashy player. He wasn't one that really sold up. But statistics don't lie, and he definitely was putting up some numbers.
Oh, yeah.
So he was definitely in there. And, I mean, you can't go wrong with that. I mean, 92% of the vote, too. So, I mean, I understand your argument, though. I mean, because you kind of think just he's on a lot of different teams.
Yeah.
You know, what's kind of the legacy when you leave in baseball. But I think he definitely leaves one, and I definitely think he's Hall of Fame worthy.
I'm saying for me, taking 3 years for Trevor Hoffman to get out the Hall of Fame is a crime.
That doesn't make any sense.
The man was drafted as a shortstop and converted to the second best closer of all time behind Mariano Rivera.
Yeah. Why it took 3 seasons, beyond me.
Yeah, the crime.
But it's the one thing because you go by the baseball writers and those that are electing the players to get in.
Yep.
And there's been a lot of different opinions about that by different people. For us, though, I mean, I agree with you, though. I think he should have been first ballot for him.
Yeah.
I think without question. The one name, though, that sticks out that didn't get in this year, and I don't understand it, is Edgar Martinez.
It's a crime.
Yeah. I mean, Pat, you got his stats for us?
Yeah, I'm looking him up, but he is a lifetime batting average against Mariano Rivera. I know this has a .597 batting average against Mariano Rivera, the greatest closer of all time.
Now, not saying that is an automatic get in, but I think it is noteworthy.
Oh, yeah.
To say the least. I mean, he got 70% of the vote. He needed 75%. Like, I don't understand. I mean, I do and I don't. It's the Hall of Fame, but I just think that if you're kind of that close, and I mean, obviously they have different rules about how long you're eligible for.
He's got one more year.
Yeah, he should get in.
Yeah, I'm looking at here his stats: 18-year career, career .312 batting average, has 1,261 RBIs, 309 home runs. So it's got some noteworthy stats.
Yeah, he's got noteworthy stats galore. Just how he doesn't get in, I don't know. I mean, because people most recognize him as a designated hitter.
Right.
And should that be held against him? I don't think so. I think he should be allowed to get in no matter what. I mean, he's got the numbers to back it up. If you have the stats to do it, you should get in.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's only some cases, obviously, with Bonds and Clemens and those guys. I think depending on what your take is on that and the whole steroids issue, that's going to be your only holdup. I know those guys have not gotten in, and it doesn't look like it's going to happen anytime soon.
Their percentages are higher than I thought they would have been.
What was the percentages?
Roger Clemens had 57.3, and Barry Bonds had 56.4. Now, keep in mind, when they first came in, it was like low 20s.
Yeah.
And they've been on the ballot for 6 years now. So they're moving up.
They're moving up. I mean, there's no question. But I know when they're tied for better or for worse with the steroid scandal, it's always going to be a tough uphill battle for that. Because, I mean, obviously it's to the writers' opinions.
Yeah.
The people that vote. I know it's the Baseball Writers Association for the most part.
Yeah.
So it's a tough call to see if they're going to get in or not. And, whether people think they're worthy to get in because they are tied to that subject.
Yeah.
Not saying that, in some cases they've admitted it, some cases they have not. So.
Yeah, it's one of those things that it was interesting what was going to happen when they got on the ballot because it was the first two big names to be connected to the steroid era to be on the Hall of Fame ballot. So it's kind of like, oh, what's going to happen? And they made their voices heard early. Like I said, low 20s.
Yeah.
It's been increasing with time, so I don't know if, time is healing all wounds or I don't know if they're ever going to get in. I personally don't think so. At the same token, with as much as the percentage is good, because I never thought they would have hit 50%. At the same token, I don't think they'll get in, but at the same token, it would not surprise me.
It's telling that it's growing, but it's also until they get in, you don't know what the temperature in the room is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it is telling that there are more votes coming their way.
Yeah.
But
and of course, now looking at next year, there's some rather interesting names coming on that list next year. Yeah, Miguel Tejada is going to be on the list. Roy Oswalt, Lance Berkman, Mariano Rivera.
Mo will be a first ballot.
Andy Pettit.
Pettit could be arguable.
And also the late Roy Halladay.
A lot of talent on that class coming in.
Yeah, I think Roy Halladay, given that the tragic that he died this past year, I think he's going to get in now.
I think he was going to get in regardless. I mean, obviously, rest in peace about that. But I think his numbers definitely proved that he could get in.
Well, and especially the mystique he had about himself, because I remember, and I know you remember, when he was with the Blue Jays, by and large, if he was pitching when the Yankees were facing the Blue Jays, forget it, they ain't going to win.
No, from the fan side, if opposing teams, you did not want to face him.
There was just a mystique about the guy that he was just leaps and bounds better.
No, he delivered. I mean, he delivered every time. I mean, his wins and losses are what they are, but you knew when you're facing him, you're in for a long day.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you needed to play phenomenal and mistake-free to beat him.
Oh, yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see. I think he does get in next year, and I think Mariano is obviously getting in.
Mariano's a lock.
Yeah, I think that one might be your highest percentage of voters getting in.
Until the following year.
And that is?
Jeter.
Yes. I think it'll be back-to-back Yankees on that year.
And I'm going to say this. I think if Jeter doesn't get 100%, nobody ever will.
Oh, somebody won't. Somebody will just be that person to vote no. But they should get 100%.
Jeter should get 100%.
Yeah,
And I know people have said, Ken Griffey Jr. didn't get 100%. Well, my whole thing with Ken Griffey Jr., yes, he was good. Yes, he's a Hall of Fame player. But there were all those years that he was out injured.
Yeah. No, I don't know if we're ever going to have 100%, but I think it should. But
I think if there's ever a candidate, it is Jeter, because by and large, the thing you hear from anyone who ever played against him, they might have hated playing against him. They didn't hate him.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. I think, but I wouldn't doubt it'll be a 99%. I have this gut feeling. Somebody's going to be that person just to vote no, just to vote no.
Yeah,
it's not right. Doesn't mean. I mean, what do I know? I hope I'm wrong. But we'll see. But I mean, congratulations to the 4 guys that got in there, because Cooperstown will definitely have a rocking class that year. And it'll be a fun time for them to get in.
Yeah.
Let us know what you think. Who got snubbed? Do you agree with who got in? Let us know on that hashtag ODPH. We'll be right back.
Hey, I'm Mike Pappy from Rye Bread, and you're listening to the ODPH.
Coming back for this week's final segment on this week's ODPH, and we got a little local minute to discuss. Romo Ponies back in 70 days or less.
Not soon enough.
Not soon enough. Can't wait to get down to Nice Egg Stadium to go see the boys. Definitely get out there when you can. More information on their website. Binghamton Devils are home this Friday against Utica, and they're at Scranton on Saturday. They had a tough loss last Saturday to Toronto, 3-0, so hopefully they can start bouncing back and get some wins in the column. And our recommendations for this weekend kind of ties in with the local minute because I have to say kudos to the Binghamton Bulldogs.
Yeah.
Currently 6th in the national rankings out of 110 teams. They are back-to-back home games this weekend and next weekend, the 27th and February 3rd against the Northeastern Pennsylvania Stars and Stripes. 12-2 record, first in the Northeast Division, and they're on a 10-game winning streak.
Ooh.
So for more information, binghamtonbulldogs.com, but my recommendation is get down there for the games and support the team. They're doing awesome. Keep doing what you're doing, guys. We are very proud of you here at the ODPH. So we're going to try getting down to the games, weather permitting and work permitting. But I'm just saying. So, Pat, you got another recommendation for this week?
Yeah, I got a recommendation. Something going on a little nationally of interest as I was looking through the schedule, seeing what was going on. Because, of course, Super Bowl isn't this weekend. It's next weekend. And, of course, Pro Bowl, not really worth watching.
Yeah, you really can't. I don't know. I can't get up for the Pro Bowl.
The only thing I like about the Pro Bowl was a couple of years ago when they were playing, I can't remember how many years ago, and they had a penalty, and Ed Hockley got up and turns the mic on and goes, "Yes, folks, there are penalties in the Pro Bowl."
Yeah. I mean,
about the only highlight I can think of the Pro Bowl.
No, Pro Bowl should just be a celebration of the athletes that had a really good year.
Yeah. But of note, so I was looking at the schedule for sports, NBA, NHL, seeing what was going on, see what was coming up. Something caught my eye coming up Saturday the 27th, 8:30 on ABC. If you don't have ABC at your house, go to a bar, catch the game. You know it's going to be on. It is the Golden State Warriors hosting the Boston Celtics.
Is this possibly your NBA Finals matchup preview?
It could be. It could be because Boston is in first place in the Eastern Conference with a 35-14 record as we record. Golden State is in first place out in the Western Conference with a 38-10 record as we record. It is very likely, and of course, it is the playoffs. You could have an upset. You never know. On paper, it is your NBA Finals preview.
I think so, too. I mean, obviously with Cleveland being in turmoil, unless they turn that ship around really quick, I think it's going to be Boston, and I think it's going to be Golden State at this point, unless the Knicks pull off the miracle of all miracles and make that run. I don't think it's going to happen, unfortunately.
Yeah, we can hope.
I hope. Oh, trust me, I hope. But I think that is going to be your NBA's final preview, and I think Golden State does take that one.
I would imagine so. The experience and the caliber of play coming out of those guys.
No, but I think it's going to be telling if Kyrie's ready to step out into his own fully, because this is going to be a national primetime game against the team you're arguably going to be facing at the end of the road.
Yeah. If it does happen, and if they do get there, it'll be the coming out parties for Kyrie.
Yeah, and I think he's going to look to put on a monster game. I just think that Curry and the boys are just not ready to give up the throne just yet.
No, and I think it'll be good for Kyrie if he gets there for some exposure, because I think it'll be a point where everyone knows he's good, everyone knows he can score, everyone knows he can play, but there's always kind of that, why'd he leave LeBron? I think if he can get to the finals and show what he's got without LeBron being there, it'll be to show, I don't know if I want to say the doubters, but the skeptics of that's why he left LeBron.
Yeah, and I think he definitely needs to make a statement with that. If he ever wants to have the question stop about it, he needs to put on points and he needs to put on performance.
Oh, yeah.
And I think he's got a chance to do it Saturday. I just think it's Golden State's time right now.
Yeah.
But we're not talking finals. We're talking one game. And I think for that one game, we're talking Golden State.
Yep.
So that's Pat's recommendation for this weekend. Mine, Binghamton Bulldogs all day. Make sure you get down to Seton. More information, binghamtonbulldogs.com. Next week, is going to be the big Super Bowl preview episode.
Oh, boy.
So JR, Sound Guy Galore, should have his pick in. I have an idea where he's going, but I don't want to spoil it for anybody.
Yeah, I think I have an idea, too.
Yep. Coach Duffy will be returning to the show within a couple weeks, so maybe he's going to crash the panel next week. I don't know. But we're going to have some Super Bowl insight for you for next week's big game. So for the intern himself, Padawan J, I am your host, Ken M. Thank you for listening to another edition of the ODPH. We'll see you next time.
Instead of making promises in the dark, why don't we just play our part? 'Cause I'm all